Hello. Test. Wonderful. It looks like we are live. Ready for some action. Got some larges of the diamond painting pins to turn. Then we're going to switch it up and then do something, probably a fountain pen from start to finish, which will be pretty fun, I think. I think there will be some people that would be interested in seeing that type of thing. Let's see, what else? And I'll probably just talk about some other things that have been in the works as we go. And Lawrence, good to see you, man. Good to see you. I saw you pop in 2 days ago, and then you were gone. Then you were gone. That's all right. That is all right, man. Let's see. All right, we're good. Let me turn the volume off of that. There we go. A little chilly in the shop today. That's all right. Just got to warm these hands up a bit, and then we'll be good to go. Yeah, so the ones that we're working on right now are right here. Let's switch views here. And boom. There we are. So the ones that we're working on right now are these. Hey! Uh-oh. Hold on. This cam, I guess, doesn't want to work right now. That's not cool. I did test them. Okay. All right. We're back. Hey, there we go. A little quick deactivate, reactivate. Good to go. Anyway, so we got these beauties going on here. And these are all going to be larges, which is nice. Some people like a thicker grip of things, so that's where we're going to begin. But what you been up to, Lawrence? Hope you've been getting some adequate sleep and whatnot, because if I recall correctly, that was one of those things that you had mentioned that wasn't going perfect yet. But hopefully that'll change up. Yesterday I got kind of a wild hair and I had this idea that I wanted to try out, and I'm not sure if I like it yet or not. But nonetheless, I made it so we can see. Yeah, got to finish the main stuff before moving on to the play, you know? Well, work before play. Well, I guess play times two, because yeah. Anyway, I'm probably going to be relatively silent for a bit while I go ahead and crank these out, and then we'll pick up from there. Yeah, I remember you were saying that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see. I got this. This is that. Going. Now for the tunes. Sounds like you've been busy. All right. Let's get to it. But yeah, good afternoon. Almost. Well, no, it is 12:02 now. Boom. Let's do it. Plaid shirt, check. Hey, what's up, man? Let's see. It'll be I don't know. I'll let it kind of be up to the people, you know, depending on the engagement that's going on. Yeah. But we'll focus more on a talking kind of stream. But I might be quieter. I don't know. It'll just, I guess, happen sometime. But no, we won't be doing for science anything. At least stream-wise. Oh no, see, man, I was thinking about that. But no, don't feel like you gotta be like, don't. And Mike, that was you, Michael, right? That put your pin in the Discord? Yeah. I was thinking about that. Yeah, I wanna... No! Alright, the only condition I'll even mention anything is don't want you to zip it, man. I want you to come here, ask all the questions you can, and learn as much as you can. That's the whole point. So, I was thinking about that a lot. And then maybe it was in the delivery. I could have been a little bit different on my delivery of that. But on the other hand, I don't necessarily think that, I think that it's a different approach to things. So, just wanted to point it out, and then let you know that well, yeah, it wasn't my intent to. If it came off a little mean, I didn't intend for it to. It was just one of those things that. Right on. No, I mean, we can go on and on, but the thing is everybody's got their own approach, and if it's something that you're not super savvy on, then you know. As far as like a hobby goes, it shouldn't be anything more than, you know, having fun and giving it your best effort. So I kind of got to a point where it was, you know, talking about how I look at things and how I position myself on that type of stuff. So I don't want you to feel like you should be the same, because your intentions are, you know, different than mine. So, yeah. Let's see. Let me look up here. You have the blank mounted between centers. Looks fine, but look, notice you don't turn the bushings. Let's see. What do you mean I don't turn the bushings? The bushings are spinning. Turn to the bushings. Oh, okay. You're saying that the diameter of the bushings right here, let's just say that they're 7 millimeter. You're wondering why I don't make the pin down to 7 millimeter. Is that right? Is that what you're asking me about? I think that's what you're asking. Okay. Well, the reason I don't do that is because these types of pins, I want them a little thicker on the end. And the reason is because people are going to be putting a lot of pressure on the tips. A lot, relatively speaking, right? It's going to be like, I don't know, maybe 5, maybe 10 pounds of pressure. Like if they're extremely heavy-handed. I don't see anybody going above like 10 pounds of pressure. But yeah, so I don't really need to for these particular types of pins because they're going to have a tip that's inserted into them, and that particular tip is it's got quite a bit of an extension outward. So I assume that you're talking or comparing it to like a kit pin, and in which case for a kit pin I do get the bushings down, or I do trim it down to the bushings because I want the hardware to line up. But this, I don't try to get the hardware to line up the same way because it's a completely different type of, well, this is a different type of handle, essentially. Yeah, so yeah, that's why, man. These are always going to have different shapes at the end, and because of the types of grips that I anticipate people, or different ways that I anticipate people holding the pin. Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of figured that was the what you were wondering about, and that is why, because the tips that go into these are just very different, and there's not really any hardware. But for the regular shapes that are like pointy, I do go closer to the bushings. But no, I always leave them a little bit thicker. Ben, what's up, man? How you been? How you been, Ben? Yeah, each kit has, not each kit, but there are a variety of different sizes of bushings for the different types of kits. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And yeah, you don't necessarily want those to be too proud, because what you're looking for in a pin is kind of a streamline, not to be confused with a slim line. But yeah, you're just looking for more of a streamline, and if you are going to do girthy ends or girthy grip portions, I'd say make it look intentional. Yeah, I would say just make it look intentional, and I believe personally that some people do that, and it just isn't really appealing to some people, but to other people it totally is. So yeah, I saw the cap pin that you had made, the single body cap pin. Not good. Been sick for a while. Yeah, I saw that you were, man. That sucks. You're back? Oh man. Too much heavy lifting? You deadlifting like 500 pounds or something. I mean, you probably deadlift people, huh? That's what Vikings do. They just carry people. Michael, what do I think about your first one? I think that, it's a starting point. That's what I think. I think it's a starting point. And I would ask you, what do you think that should be different? Because if you start taking all the inputs from other people, what you're essentially going to start doing is making the pins that they like to see. And that's not, you're not selling to me, man. You'd be selling to somebody else. So, what do you think of your pin? Is kind of what I would wonder about that. Because I have seen voluptuous pins, right? It's all in the marketing too of it. If you really like thick, chunky pins, which I know that there are people out there that have arthritis or different issues with gripping, they do like different types of grips. So, I mean, that's what I'll talk about as far as the shape goes. When it comes to the finishing, again, if that's your first one or, your first 10, it is what it is. Just try to recognize different things and then be able to kind of diagnose what it is that you're doing and then change whatever you're going for. Finish wasn't right. That's all right. Yeah. That is not a, it's not a pen I would particularly like to write with. Because, I mean, I try to make it abundantly clear as often as possible that, you got to think about the person that is going to be using that, right? So it could be beautiful wood, it could be beautiful resin, it could be a beautiful kit, it could be all those things. But at the end of the day, it's about the presentation, it's about the what do you think about it? Do you think it's a good reflection of the work that you want to put out into the world? So I would say that those are the things that I would wonder. And I wanted to go ahead and preface that because I want you to know that when you're getting opinions from other makers, they have an idea in mind of how they think it should look, right? But I don't necessarily think that everybody is right. But on the other hand, it's just the way things are. So my opinions on it are going to be different than somebody else. However, I think the common thing that we will be able to see is like the different finish type that you've got is a very thick pen. It looks like there was some tear out that you should have spent more time on the coarse grit sandpaper before moving to CA. Now CA can help with the surface finishes of the stuff, but it will not fill in gaps or holes that wouldn't be noticeable. So you can have tear out on your blank and you can fill it with CA, but you can still see it even if you can't feel it, if that makes sense. First fountain pen, I mean, I don't think the type of pen really matters for the for that. And yeah. when you had initially said first fountain pen, I kind of assumed that you were talking about a bespoke fountain pen, but that's not the case. So. Let's see, finish wasn't right, yeah. But, I mean, CA is a hard one to do. And the other thing, too, is as you're working on pens and turning wood and stuff like that, you know, from my perspective, the way that I would pursue if I was at the skill level that you were at right now, my way forward would be focusing on the shape. I don't care about the finish. I'm going to focus on the shape. And then once I start getting the shape consistently how I like it, then I'll move to the finish. Because it's easier to make adjustments when you already have a baseline. You know what I mean? But if you're trying to do everything at the same time, that's not going to work very well. You're going to essentially overwhelm yourself with all the different things that you're thinking about, all the different voices in your head of other, you know, YouTubers and other people that are that you've come across and stuff like that. You're going to think about those voices in your head, but don't because to an extent, right? Because there's a high likelihood they know what they're talking about, but I think the starting points for different people are just different. Like you could be, for example, you could be an excellent turner. You could be able to, you know, cut captive rings. You can turn whatever you want, do long, skinny pieces and stuff like that. But your finish might not be there. And so, to those people, I would say, why don't you build up quite a few different projects at the same time that you're going to be practicing your finish on repeatedly. It kind of goes back to one of the videos that I made. I think people should absolutely start with slimline pins, but I don't think that they should really ever try to sell them, personally. And the reason I think that those are good is because you have to match up, you know, 4 different parts. Right, you'll have the one end, and then you'll have the middle, and then you have to make those middles kind of match up, and then you'll have the other one. So you have 2 blanks that you're working on, essentially, and you're also having to match it twice. And for repetition-wise, you're going to get better faster the more repetitions and troubleshooting. And I say troubleshooting, meaning that if it's the way you want it to look versus not the way you want it to look. So, yeah. So I would pick like 1 or 2 things to focus on. You're like, hey, I want the pen to be like ergonomic and I want it to be girthy. Okay, fantastic. Let's start shaping something that looks like that. That when you get to that point in your mind, you have an idea of what that's going to look like. And then all you have to do is translate from your head to your work what that actually is. So, yes. I think that the same thing could be said for pretty much anything that is a new skill or a skill that is not fully developed, right? We're working on the 80% of something. So when you start turning, like the biggest thing is getting the lathe and then getting the tools, right? Because you can't turn if you don't have those things. So you're like 80% there when you have the lathe and the tools. Okay, now we're gonna pivot because we already know what lathe, we already know what tools. Now we can move on to the next thing, and that is, what am I gonna turn? So in this case, we're gonna turn pens. and you're like, okay, well, what do I need in order to turn pins? So that's kind of the other 20% of the material and equipment gathered in this particular case. So the same thing, the same foundation, I would say, applies to getting comfortable with spindle turning, or turning between centers, or turning on a mandrel, whatever it is, and practice that, because you need to practice. Like, that just, there's no way around it. Which isn't exactly what people probably want to hear. You want to just be able to do it. But in my mind, in my opinion, I think that's a part of the journey, and how you can kind of differentiate yourself just by consistently doing something over and over again. So there is a saying that we used all the time is, you don't practice, or you don't do it until you get it right. You practice until you hardly ever get it wrong. And, you know, I still make mistakes. I've turned over 20,000 pins, and that's not an exaggeration. I've got receipts to show. But the reality is, you want to improve, you're going to need to focus on where you were lacking that previous go. So improvement is just constantly coaching yourself on how to improve whatever it is. Now, you can expedite that process, right, by learning from somebody else. But again, that'll just give you building blocks in order to get a baseline, and then be able to start changing things here and there. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to turn this in between centers, or I'm going to turn this on the mandrel, or, but everybody tells me to do it like this. Well, maybe they're right. Maybe you should try it like that. And then if it's not how you want it to be, or doesn't feel right, or something like that, then maybe you need to adjust something. But before you start adjusting something, you got to figure out what you need to adjust. So, kind of going back to the actual building blocks of it, if you don't have a foundation of any sort, you kind of need to build that in the first place. So I guess one other question I would ask would be like, for that pin, is that a pin that you really like representing, like being a representative of your work? So you think about from your point of view, other makers' point of view, then you also need to think about from the customer's point of view, because they don't know. Most of the time, if somebody is going to buy a nice pin, they don't care how you got there. They don't care. They look at it and it's either nice or it isn't to them. So when you come across people like in Facebook groups that, well, and other groups too, I think it's important to be open to not being right. Yeah, like there are people that tell me things that I still don't know. And another common thing is you don't know what you don't know. And in some cases, there are people that have a baseline understanding of information, and they just assume that if you were able to accomplish this, then you already know some of these things, and so you're going from there and moving forward. I'm pretty sure that's what's known as an axiom. It's like everybody's got a relatively universal understanding of something, right? Everybody knows that you get a pen, and the point of a pen is to write something. Like, you don't necessarily need to explain that to somebody unless they're a kid, or that, I suppose, somebody that's never seen a pen or a pencil. but it's understood that that's the purpose of it. And so from there, you're able to continue building towards a direction. Yeah, sorry. Let me let me read the chat a bit. Ben, man, sorry that Bill Co birthday thing. Right on. Finish wasn't right. Yeah. First fountain pen. Yeah. No kit pins. Not that clever. You've ordered some single-ended fountain pens. Right on. You learn on every time you make one. Certainly no master. Maybe one day you'll be as good as two good makers in here. You know, I mean, if that's the goal that you want to have, I can give you the blueprint on how to get there. Like, it's not a secret. It really isn't. Because if you were able to do 80% of the different things from start to finish, you're able to do like 80% of that stuff. The last 20% of a particular pen is just refining and fine-tuning and, you know, like for a CA finish, maybe I left some circumferential marks on there. Or if you did a wood finish, maybe I used too coarse of a grit and I didn't go fine enough. And so you can kind of see little scratches because that's how I finished it. And, you know, from that particular example, if you stop the lathe and you go left to right, that'll take out the gouges that are this way, right? So if we have a pin and we have like a gouge right here, let me look at the shape first before I do that. All right, 35. So if we have a piece of work right here, then okay, there we go. So, and this is a part of the finishing. It's not really even a part of the turning in the beginning, right? Right? So I wanted to clarify that for my seasoned people, because they'll know that this is not exactly the case. So you can see a mark like this, right? It won't be as exaggerated, but you'll be able to see stuff like that. So what you'll do is you'll take coarse sandpaper, or not coarse because you don't want to create other problems. You'll be on the same sandpaper and you'll go left to right, whoop, like that. You'll just continue left and right until those scratches are not this way. They'll be going more this way, and then you'll move to the next grit of sandpaper, and then you'll repeat the process. And what you'll end up with is a much smoother surface without rings on it. And this kind of goes back to the whole foundational aspect of it, because once you know how to do it on something small, a similar rule applies when you're moving to larger things. Because you're still turning it the same way, you're still sanding it a similar way. And so, yeah, you might find that you need to go laterally to get some of those things out. Now, I guess there are obviously exceptions to every rule, and other tools that fix those types of problems. But in a nutshell, what you have to understand is that when you're sanding it like this, it's spinning, and I'm sanding, right? I'm going boom, ba boom, but you're going to end up with rings. That's why you progressively go finer, finer grit. Those rings get smaller and smaller, but they won't necessarily go away until laterally. So, yeah. Why do you think I asked so many questions? No. Oh, okay. I appreciate it, man. You know, I'm humbled, really, because I don't. I know that I've got my 80%, right? But that 20% that I'm working on of improving, I guess that would be part 2 in a way. So if you're turning and it ends up a little rough, you end up with like peaks and valleys, right? So you'll end up with high points and low points, which is not a big deal. And as you get better at turning, your tool working will improve. And that will make it easier over time to sand, because you won't have as much to sand off to make everything flat and smooth. So cutting out the shape that you want is where I would start. If I was at the position that I think that you are at, I would work on my shape and determine the profile that I like most. From there, I would practice that a lot. I would practice it over and over again. And I wouldn't even worry about sanding. And then once I got comfortable and consistent with the shapes that I had in my mind, that tells you a lot of things. It tells you that your comfort with the tools is getting better, your coordination and your execution from your brain to your hands to your work is improving. So it tells you a lot of different things at the same time. But on the other hand, it's going to take either you being critical on yourself, or it's going to take somebody else saying something for you to, I guess, see different things. And this applies to pretty much anything. Like, I can't think of anything that it doesn't really apply to. Other than doing yourself, I guess. But, I mean, everybody knows, too, that there are better versions of yourself that you could be, right? And so the pursuit of being the best version of yourself, in my mind, is one of those life goals. Should that go on a t-shirt? I'm just kidding. But really, it's just, being... I guess that's another reason why I was relatively reluctant to share exactly how I make bespoke pens. It's partially because I don't want people to necessarily feel like the way that I do it is the only way to do it. But I viewed it more so as a starting point for people to begin refining a process, right? Because you need the baseline in order to build upon it. And you can get the baseline from a variety of different ways. Trial and error, rote learning, feedback, there's a lot of different ways. But just know that some people are going to give you some feedback that is going to be reflective of what they would want in that type of thing. So, long-winded answer, but I'm pretty sure you don't expect anything less from me at this point. But no, for that particular pen, I wouldn't try and sell it at all. Personally, I wouldn't try and sell it, because everything that I do is a reflection of me, and that's not really how I would want people to see the work that that's not how my work would be that's going out. Like, I'll show you things that, are building blocks from where I began, So like some of these here are just old pins that I made and tried and worked on. Like this is huge. The diameter is so ridiculous. The threads on these are ridiculously long. The cap is way too thick. I don't know if you're able to see it, but this one's a little offset because of how I finished it, because I didn't know how to finish it. And then I finally stumbled across something. This was going to be something else. This was going to be a paintbrush. Yeah, it was going to be a type of paintbrush, and I made one for somebody, but I didn't know how I was going to take the end off. Because I couldn't grab it. What I ended up doing is actually using a collet, because this part didn't matter if it got a little scarred or not. But this was the first iteration of it that I don't really show unless I'm showing an example of the things that I kind of had to push through in order to get to where I was trying to go. So in some ways, those are just stepping stones, really. Because if you want to be one of the best makers, it's not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen by intentional practice. It's going to happen by learning from people that are some of the top people in their field or area of expertise or whatever it is. I mean, you don't go to college to be a doctor and learn from a, I don't know, not a doctor or not somebody that specializes in that particular field, because they don't have the right, you're not going to talk to a machinist to learn about what it takes to be a doctor. There you go, that'll work. So. But on the other hand, I would say that it doesn't necessarily make them wrong about different things that they may say. So if one person's like, oh yeah, when your oxygen gets low, just supply yourself with some oxygen. Or just take some deep breaths. You know, both of those things could work. I don't know. And that kind of falls back onto the individual maker to choose who they I guess I'll say look up to, because it's just easier. But yeah, people that you look up to, and then find out what it is that you like about that, and then make efforts to get towards that. Yeah, of course. But like I said, I don't want you to feel discouraged or anything, because the only time you really fail at it is when it doesn't end up being anything, right? It could just be in the bin. But it's not. It actually turned into something. Now the quality of something or the finish of something could be better. Pretty much always it could be better. And that's just the way things are. So it's like the pursuit of excellence is what I call that. So you're in the pursuit of excellence, and it won't work if people are not willing to put in the effort. People don't get to high levels of anything without work, dedication, and a pursuit of excellence. I guess a good example that I actually lived was when I became a paramedic. When I became a paramedic many moons ago, we had a compressed curriculum where a 2-year program was crammed down our throat in 6 months. And so I was like, oh my God. Now I passed the National Registry of Paramedics, so other paramedics, in a way, are now my peers, right? At that point, it's a matter of how much time they've been at it and how many different types of people they've come in contact with. So you have to obtain the experiences in order to improve. But you know, when I first got into the ambulance as a paramedic, like I had a mentor, right? It's what you have. You have a mentor, and I was really nervous going into the first, well, a lot of calls really, because everybody's got, well, in the ambulance, there were all different kinds of calls. There's like gunshot wounds, there's, you know, somebody's having a heart attack, or somebody's delirious, or you're like, whoa. Immediately, right, you start thinking about what could be the problem or what problem could they be having. And so you start there, and then you start trying different things. So, but there was always a protocol, and protocols are like the best place to start. So for a medic, if somebody had like chest pains, we had a protocol of giving them oxygen, right? Getting them hooked up to the electrocardiogram, and then moving on, depending on what the EKG is reading, then that would kind of direct you into the next set of protocols. So it is a structured thing. However, it goes back onto the individual to figure those things out, or be able to recognize the different types of rhythms for the heart. And that's just an example, right? So I guess a lathe example here would be if I started having this vibrate a lot in the middle, like if I'm turning this and it starts vibrating a lot in the middle, what would be some of your solutions to why that's happening? And for the record, I just want to let you know I appreciate you hanging out and coming back and asking away, because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. But yeah, if I'm turning between centers and it's vibrating, what should I do? You wish you could make your own kits? Well, do it. Again, the same thing. It's not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen because you have that in your sights, that target in your sights, or that focus, or whatever you want to call it, and that is the direction you're going. I want to make a kit. Okay. What are the different things for a kit? What do I need for a kit? So, starting there and then building from there. You just have to continuously move forward and solve problems. When you solve enough problems, then you'll be where you're trying to go. The main thing is your first big show, like you said the other day. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I delayed streaming for like a year because it's like, you know what? I don't know if what I have to offer is even worth anything. Or, okay, let me rephrase that. I know what I had to offer was worth something, but why would I be the one that would be a good person to share this information? Yeah. Like, what qualifies me to do something like that? Or so yeah, like I said, I had everything set up for a long time, but I just didn't do it because, well, yeah, it just and I don't know. When people, being an authority figure of something is a very strange thought, because what you're saying in some ways is that you know more than a significant amount of people. And you know, after I started streaming, it became like, oh god, that was stupid. Why did I wait so long? It doesn't really matter. Some things don't really matter. I mean, as long as you're not giving things that are dangerous, information-wise, like, somebody's not going to take that and then, or you can even have a disclaimer, but ultimately, if people are being safe, then that's why I've always got my disclaimer in all the descriptions of my video, that the methods that I use might not be the safest, but they're the ones that, you know, I had a baseline, and then I kind of changed it up to where there are different things that I don't really worry about, like some people do. Some people keep their fingers as far away from a saw blade as possible, and in some cases you're probably best off for doing that, but on the other hand, I find that if you don't have good positive control over what you're cutting, then I think you can run into different problems entirely. So I'm not saying that I put my fingers right next to the blade, but when I am cutting, I don't necessarily feel the need to use something that's like a long pole to push it through. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't. And then I think there's also another mentality aspect of it that, like, oh, well, you just have that thought of you're a teen and, you know, you're immortal and you won't make mistakes. But the reality is you're gonna make mistakes, and learning from them is the most important thing about it. But if you focus on other people's mistakes so much so, then you're going to start worrying about the mistakes that they made, and then you'll be so focused on not making their mistake that you won't allow yourself that kind of freedom to Be like, well, that's not a mistake I would have made in the first place had I not known about it. So I guess another way to think about this in particular would be when somebody's teaching you something or when you're learning something, how much do you actually benefit from them telling you what not to do? Right? Not a rhetorical question. I'm genuinely interested in knowing what you think about that. Do you think somebody telling you what not to do now, it could work for some people, but I also think that some people would also agree that some of the lessons, the most valuable lessons, are ones that are learned the hard way. I'm not saying go be negligent and do that and be willy-nilly. Just be conscious of the potentials of it, but I don't think anybody really needs to say that, you know, if you stick your fingers too close to a saw or onto a saw blade, it's going to cut it. Like, I don't think people, it's not like people don't know that. Like, or, you know, a kid touching a stove and it's hot. Like, me personally, I would tell them it's hot. But if they still felt the need to touch it, go for it. Sometimes pain's a better lesson. Because it stands out more in your head if it makes some sort of impact on you. If I use this carbide, how people told me how to use the carbide, I would not be as efficient as I am. For example, everybody says, you get the tool, you put it down, and then you like have it, and then you'll start making contact, and then you tilt the tool down, and then when you start cutting, there you go, now you can start moving until you're not cutting anymore, in which case you'll have to tilt it more towards the center of the project. So that's one thing. Another thing is some people have said don't turn your tool because it's intended to be used like this. And you go left to right. That's it. You go like this and you go left to right. All right. Well, it works. It works. Foundationally speaking, that's fine. However, if you're trying to be more advanced and be able to get more uses or more use cases out of the tool, then you'll probably want to start like tilting it. You're tilting it, and I'm pretty much never in contact with the base part of the tool here. So it's just one of those things where you have to have a foundational knowledge of something and then start pushing limits. You know, just like kids like to do. Push the limits of different things that you feel comfortable with already and see if there's a different way to go about doing whatever it is. In my case, for this tool, yeah, I turn it sideways like all the time. I rarely turn with it completely flat on the tool rest. So like right now, it is completely sideways with a little bit of an angle. So in some ways, it's kind of more like a, it's not a skew, but because skew, if I was using it as a skew, I'd be going down. I'd be going down, I wouldn't be going up. And the other rules apply to different materials too, so I can't really do the same, I can't turn wood the same way I turn resin. Like you see me going up the slope a lot. Well, if I try to do that on wood, it doesn't work the same way. So just, and the only way that you're really going to know that and your capabilities is by doing it. So and because of those different things, I don't really get annoyed with people talking about a foundational aspect of anything, because they're right. They are correct that you should not wear sleeves around a lathe. And it's not so much so that you shouldn't wear sleeves around a lathe. It's more so be aware that if your shirt gets caught in the lathe, that it's going to keep spinning. And depending on how strong the lathe is, you're going to kind of get yourself pulled in a little bit, which is not cool. But on the other hand, if you're mindful of that and you make the arrangements to alleviate that problem in the first place, then it doesn't ever become a problem. Hey, what's up? Yeah, carbide. I mean, I think it's a fantastic tool. The reason I like it so much is because I don't have to sharpen it. And I've tried on traditional tools to make the pins that I do, and somebody like Ben that spent a ton of time with the high-speed steel, he could probably do it because he's familiar with the different techniques involved with each individual tool. But I'm not. And some things are easier to begin with, but harder to master. You know, so there's that too. Anywho, I just think about a lot of different things concurrently, and when people are giving advice about different things, it could be like the best advice, just not at this point in time, because it goes back to where are we starting from. And that's another reason why it's important to have like a mentor or have somebody around you that has an understanding of where you're coming from, where knowledge-wise, and then be able to elevate from there, or talk about things specifically based off of your existing knowledge of information. So analogies that I try to make them relatable to at least other pen makers or turners or people that have been outside or things like that. There's a lot of analogies to make to illustrate different points. Yeah. Feeling good. Feeling good. Yes. But like, if I got a different tool, okay, so this is a 30. Okay, I can't do it right now, but I will do something later where I'm using a different tool. I've got 2 more to go, and Abby's kind of keeping pace with me. And I don't want to hold her up. But yeah, I was thinking about you, Michael, and I was going to do a video specific, or not a video, but a portion of this stream was going to be just for you and anybody else that happens to be here, but it was going to be for you, pretty much. 36, okay. But I got to get there. I was going to make a pencil or a pen from start to finish using a wood lathe entirely, and yeah. Is that something that you would want to see? And if not, that's fine too, man. Don't feel like because I offered you got to take it, right? It's okay to turn down free stuff. Because I know that my schedule is not necessarily the same as yours, so. Nice. Hope everybody's doing well. I am finishing up some diamond painting pens for this week's drop. They are candy something. Abby names them. Abby names them. And I don't look at social media, but hardly at all. But yeah. And then I would say for like content creators, this is probably one of the better things, or better things to kind of keep in mind, is if there is someone that you are trying to answer their question, there's a good chance that other people have a similar question, or their answer could be at some point during answering that question. So I think that's a valuable thing for video or content creators to know. So I guess the way that I was thinking about it is, really, I'm just talking to the person that asked me the question. And if it helps other people at the same time, great. I mean, I'm a pretty personable kind of person. Yeah. Boom. One more, then we can change it up. But yeah, I guess if you're still out there, man, let me know if you want that, or I'm going to be working on a fountain pen instead. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm gonna be working on a fountain pen then, instead of a kit pen. Let me get this over here. Got to reconfigure a little bit. All right, let me switch to the big screen here. Yeah, here we go. And I need to pivot this around. Yeah. Go. There we go. Lordy. Can't have that all up in the way. Okay. There we go. This, put this here. Let me do this. Okay. What are we going to do? What are we going to do here? Okay, we'll start here. Loosen. Oop, that's tightening. Come on, John. Righty tighty. Lefty loosey. Alrighty, here we go. Okay. Just a moment. Let me get this dialed in here. There we go. Okay. Shot. What the hell? That's so weird how off that is. Alright, what we're going to do is transform, rotate 180. Ah, there we go. Okay. Whew. Alrighty. Let's see what that looks like. Give me just a moment. Need to rotate 180. Reshuffle you. Oh, this one. There we go. Whew, there we go. Now we got it. Okay, let me back this guy up here. Oh, all right, I think we're good now. Let's go ahead and we're going to move this. Okay. There we go. All right. How do you like my mess? Now I got to set up the comments over here. Okay, that'll be good enough. Alrighty, that looks all right, right? Yeah, you can see pretty much everything here. Sweet. Let's get this over here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so this is the pen that we're going to be working, or the blank that I'm going to be working on. This is a commission blank turned into a pen, right? So somebody wanted to know if we would do that, and like, yeah, I reckon we'll do that. Why not? Correction, Abby said okay, but here I am doing what she said that we would do. That's the life of it all, huh? All right, so working on a fountain pen. What's the title of this stream anyway? Turning and shaping. All right, that'll be sufficient. So I am a little hyped up on Mountain Dew. Coffee is. I like pretty weak coffee, so I can have a decent volume of it, but yeah, Abby doesn't. So when she wants some coffee, she'll make it a little stronger. So I gotta heat up some water and then cut it back down. Okay. Let's see. Here we are. Do some of this action. Whoop. There. I won't leave it in. If Brian's out there, this is for you. It's not in the chuck, it's on the chuck. Oh, man. Machinists, am I right? Let's see. Okay, so I need a ruler. So many lives, so little time. Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right about that. The best way to keep up with all the lives is to not fall behind. But you know, I can't expect people to take five hours out of their day every day. That would just be ridiculous. Okay, so I am rough measuring right now. I need to measure a 4, a 3, and well, I'll get the rest afterwards, and then more precise afterwards too. So there's 4, and then a 7. Oh yeah. Good advice? I done forgot it already. I'm just kidding. Only a little bit. I did forget. All right, here we go. I need to come over. I'm over at the bandsaw. I'm not going to reconfigure the cameras for this, but I'm just cutting the pieces. But on the other hand, you know, it's not like you're going to be missing stuff. So the other day, someone taught me how you can just look at a car's headlights. Yeah, man. I mean, you can take that even further, and then by the headlights, you can know what type of car it is. But that's some next level stuff there. Like, not always, though. I mean, you can tell, for example, a Jeep is a pretty easily recognizable car because it's got like a circular headlights. But if you go back to like between 92 and 95, they had square headlights. And then, you know, you kind of put those things. Yeah. Alrighty. Been dropping those knowledge bombs? Heck yeah. What other pearls have you learned? Somebody taught you how to hack. Yeah, hack about how to cut a 2x4. Yeah, man. Lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff. And I mean, in my mind, that's a part of why community is so valuable, because you have people that are like been doing what it is that they've been doing for years, and so their depth of knowledge is incredible. And the thing that that I think about fountain pens specifically is a lot of people kind of look at fountain pens as a older person interest because handwriting isn't cool or something like that, right? But I think it's awesome. I like handwriting. In fact, I got to get my kids back into practicing. They were doing it pretty consistently, but yeah. But handwriting, man, huge, huge and valuable. Because the connections from your brain to your hands and making your handwriting look like something that you're happy with and all that stuff. But I think that's another reason why I like wood turning, because it's a pretty common thing for people like engineers and designers and other artists to kind of all come together, right? At least that's kind of what I've noticed. So your results may vary, but I'd say that overall it's been more like there's an engineer that I know that's like in another country. There are scientists and chemists and stuff like that that are into it. There are so many things that I've come across that I was like, oh my gosh, that is so freaking cool. It's like, why don't you stream? I'd watch. Okay, I didn't really say that because I'm really mediocre at best about watching somebody else's stream. I mean, I've hopped on bins a couple times, and I'm usually just in the background. I'll turn it on and just have it. But back, sorry, took longer. Hey, that's all right, man. We'll have to revisit that another time. I was gonna make a video I was gonna stream something just for you. You don't have the capacity, skill, or knowledge to be able to do this? You throw a yet at the end of it and I'll agree with you. Come on, Mike. Say it. You ain't got it yet. But like I said, it ain't gonna happen by accident. We've got a lot of it, but we'll definitely have missed some stuff. That's all right. It's all right. And that's, again, it goes back into you learn enough to be able to apply what you already know or are familiar with or comfortable with into your craft. Now you're researching, you're going to find a rack and pinion so you have a lead screw. Oh, lordy, don't do that. Just buy a metal lathe. Just get one. Or don't use one, I don't know. Jack of all trades. Mike's a jack of all trades? Heck yeah. When somebody's a jack of all trades. Yeah. Never mind. I think of different things like that as having so many different spinning plates, right? You can only have so many spinning at the same time before you have to go back and make the other one start spinning again. And that'll also affect your depth of understanding the thing that you like to do most in some cases. Like, the same was true when I was in the military and we trained. We trained on tactics, we trained on leadership, we trained on weapons, like weapons handling, shooting, all that stuff. We trained on medicine, we trained on everything. So we were a jack of all, but master of none, right? Because we would still go to people that have so much deeper of an understanding, because if somebody's very interested in, say, in shooting, right? There's so much that goes along with that type of thing. And if you're not familiar, or if you're not, or if you haven't gone to someone who is a professional at what it is that they do, then you should change that, for one. You should absolutely go find somebody who's a pro and learn from them, just so you can kind of see that there is somebody out there that has spent their entire life focusing on that one thing for an absurd amount of time. And to them, it's not absurd, but to somebody else, so you've been teaching this for how many years? Or you've been doing this for how many years? But, you know, it's one of those things that, yeah, people do dedicate tons of time to that type of stuff. And people like that should be viewed as more, valued inside of the wheelhouse that they are in, respectively. Let's see. Master of none. Well, you drop that in on that one. Master of one. Right? Nobody's better at knowing you than you. So you are at least a master of that. And that is a starting point that you can absolutely build from. You know what I mean, man? You know what I mean? Boop. Yeah. But yeah, you get out of here, bug. I caught him. Let him go. I didn't want to let him go. I didn't squish him hard enough. Whoop, go the other way. There we go. You've been trying woodwork, turn for 4, and I emphasize try. You just dig in and bash things till you figure it out? Heck yeah, Mike. Don't mind me just having one of those times doubting myself. Your work. Don't go away soon, man. Don't go away. You can stay here as long as you want to. But yeah, don't worry about that at all. I need to measure this. We're looking at, damn it, where's my ruler? The one that I want. My favorite ruler. All right, calipers it is. You probably can't even see that line. It's dark. I can barely see it. You're not going anywhere, but hopefully the doubting yourself. Well, I wish I could offer some positive words there, but I still feel imposter syndrome in a lot of things that I do. Like, when I have the metal lathe, to some people, you're like, man, you're good on the metal lathe. But to a machinist, they're like, dude, what the heck are you doing? I said, I'm doing me, all right? I'm doing me. And I'm good at that. You're not going to be better at me than being me. So, I'd say that's a good place to start. If you have no other starting point, there. Still think it's show nerves, but it'll go away once you get back. Yeah. Well, I mean, shoot. I would say it goes away, but it really... All right. You know what? I do actually have some value for you, man. You ready? I think people that are most nervous about some things... I think people that are nervous about some things are also the same type of people that will constantly improve. So if you're constantly worried about something, yeah, I've said that you get target fixation and all that stuff. However, I worry about people liking what it is that I make. And it's not that I worry about it. It's more like I need them to like what I make because that is what I do, right? So if you have nothing to lose, or if you think about it to where you don't have anything to lose and everything to gain, I think that's a better way to think about it. So, yeah. So there's two solutions there, right? I don't know if you wanted solutions, but damn it, now you got them. Abby doesn't want solutions. She just wants to tell me most of the time, which is okay, right? It's all right. And I don't think the nerves will necessarily go away because it's just not how it is until you get more and more comfortable. But, you know, when people start getting more and more comfortable, you know what happens then when they start getting too comfortable? Any ideas? They get complacent. People get complacent. Yeah, they get complacent. And when there's like that line of, hold what you got because what you're doing is working. And then there's another train of thought that's totally the opposite, to where it's like, dude, you need to change it up a bit. You are out of touch with whatever, and let's get you up to snuff. Let's get you up and running a little bit better here. So there really are two completely opposite trains of thought, and both of them are true. However, it's a matter of when they become applicable to you. So any advice that you take from somebody, take it with a grain of salt. because, you know, sometimes they could be trying to set you up for failure. And other people, they might be trying to set you up for success, but you won't know the difference necessarily because you're not very experienced in whatever specifically it is that you got the advice. And it's not really your fault unless that's how you frame everything that you do. At that point, I would start blaming the person that was, you know, receiving and internalizing the information. But on the other hand, I'm on the side of the person that is actively trying to improve. And having a variety just means that you'll have different skill sets, different levels of knowledge that you can tap into as you get more and more familiar with whatever it is. Then you'll go back and be like, you know what? That was accurate. That was pretty accurate. But yeah, do you have pictures of other pins that you've made? Or pins that you're working on for the show? Because the other reason I think people get nervous is because some people, they obsess and they're nervous for no reason. And then other people, they obsess and they try to do as much as they can to actually to improve, right? So there's a saying that if I had an hour to chop down a tree or something like that, let me find it right quick. It's a great quote in my opinion. Here we go. Yes, there we go. So the quote is from Abraham Lincoln, and it says, "You give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." Now, the key part here is how can you make that apply to what it is that you do? And some of the things that I try to do is make information relatable, or different things that have impacted me personally. I try to I try to share that. So if I had a month, if I was starting where you are and I had a month to make X amount, I would determine how many I need to make a day to reach my target, and then I would reverse plan from there. And I would not necessarily divide it the way that Abraham Lincoln did, but I would divide it a little differently to where I would focus on these particular things because it's the most important and most impactful. So if it's the shape that you're not confident in, or if it's the finish that you're not confident in, or if it's both, then you're going to have to chop that work time, or on the tail end, you're going to have to ramp up the amount that you can do. Because I think that what you'll find is if you put the time and effort into improving certain areas, you'll get a lot more proficient and faster at doing it, and progressively narrowing that gap of speed and results. So your speed will increase and your results will also improve. So both of those things are going to start coming together, but the approach is really a lot of it. But yeah, I would say one of the things that I would do is focus on specifically the area that I was most uncomfortable with, because you don't get better at stuff doing things that you're comfortable with. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions or uncomfortable situations to grow and develop and learn from them. Yeah. Yeah. That's about all I have to say about that. But yeah, okay, going back to the actual numbers of it all. If you want, let's see, can you see the board? You can kind of see the board. Actually, I got a little notebook. We'll use a notebook here. Give me a chance to log some miles on my pen. Where the hell did my pen go? There it is. Found it. Okay, here we are. Here we are. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Get me a little tray of some sort to hold the rigidity of it here. Okay, so show in a month. We'll call it, we'll just assume that it's a show in a month. Show in 30 days. So if I have a show in 30 days and I was wanting to work on, oh, that's not showing up at all, is it? All right, we're going to old-fashioned Sharpie here. Old-fashioned. All right, show in 30 days. Let's write this again. Show in 30 days. And what you want to work on, dot, 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 is going to be shape and finish. So, good. We have almost all the information that we need. Lastly, we need to know how many we're trying to get in that 30 days. So realistically, how many can be done in a day? So if we're going for 60 total, which is what I think that you said, so 60, and you can accomplish 10, right? So 60 and 10 per day. Boom. Now we're good. We know that it's going to take us 6 days to accomplish this. So that leaves us 24 days for working on these things. And you're going to start with the, well, this is where you choose. Do you want to start with the harder of the two or the easier of the two for you, right? It's going to depend on what you want or need to do. You're going to divide that into 12 days and shape. And then 12 days, finish. Okay? So this is our main focus now. We already know that we have 6 days at the end to accomplish that, but the first bit, we've got this. Okay, and obviously you can plug in different things. You can take away days, you can add days, whatever. The main thing is to spend this time working on that and that. I think what you will find is as you're starting to work on one of these, you'll drastically improve your proficiency at accomplishing it, and you'll accomplish it in about, I don't know, 5 days. So we are good. 5 days of practice for shape. And then that makes it so we have an extra 7 days to work on finish. So now we have 19 days to finish. If that ends up being the case. So we'll work on the 19 days of finishing. And what you're going to be finishing is all the stuff that you practiced on in the first place. You're going to get some stinkers and you're going to get some good ones. So the good ones, continue on with those in the process, but focus on the finishing aspect of them. Whether they are good or bad, as far as the shape that you want, it doesn't matter as much. Because you don't care about the shape for this part, right? You've already worked on the shape, and like the first 5 that you did, they might not be as good, which is okay. Still, we're going to work on those to conserve materials in order to accomplish the finishing practice. So a finishing practice will take I don't know, if you did even 5 per day and you did 5 days of that, that'll leave 25 total, 25 pins. So 5 days, 5 pins. So this is kind of the understood at this point, right? So the first 5 days, at least, we practice that. Now we'll have 25 to be practicing our finishing. So we'll have 25. Focus on the finish, not the shape anymore. Because the different shapes that you ended up with from your initial practicing will help you when it comes to being able to finish things that are different types of shapes. So now we have 25 pens or blanks that we're working on. And then if we did 5 a day, that'll be 5, right? But we have a total of 19 days that we can still do. So if we did it 5 a day, 25, then that'll put us at, what's that, 14 days? So 14 days, and you're comfortable. You're comfortable doing everything now. You spent the first part of it, the first 16 days, or sorry, not 16 days. They've spent the first 5 and 5. You've spent the first 10 days working on that. Fantastic. Now you're comfy. Now you're comfy. And now you have a total of 20 days to actually bang out your target of 60. Right? But again, it comes back to how hard do you want to work on it? How, you know, you have to put the time in order to get the outcome that you want. But yeah, so basically just find out the end and then plan backwards from there. Let's see. You got any questions on that, man? I think another thing would be that you got too many spinning plates, because if you're going to a pen show, you probably shouldn't be spending much of any time on anything but a pen, right? You should probably just focus on pen making, and then if you happen to have time, so like I said before, if it took 5 days of practice for the shape, 5 days of practice for the finish, then it takes us 6 days to make 60 pens. Well, we're sitting at 16 days, so we'll have 14 days to do what we need to. In addition to that. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. That's kind of how it should be viewed. If you're going to a pen show, you need to make the best pens that you can, or pens that you believe that are reflective of what it is that you want to be known or recognized for. Let's see. I mean, if somebody happens to just come across this piece of paper, they're not really going to understand what's going on with it. But we understand because we went through it. But yeah. And those are just random numbers, right? They're not necessarily going to be, they're not going to perfectly apply to you. You'll have to adjust as necessary. And then, you know, it comes all the way full circle to the very beginning of having some sort of structure and having a direction. Do you want to be the pen maker? Do you want to be a box maker? Do you want to be a whatever else maker? Then that's kind of how the approach should be, in my opinion. It's not a pen show, it's a whiskey and alcohol festival. Right on, right on. Let's see, barrels as well to draw the market. Well, the other thing too is there are a lot of whiskey barrels that you can get, a lot of whiskey barrel blanks that you can get. And so strategy-wise, I would look into some of those and then only make ones that are bourbon barrel. That's what I would do. If I were you, that's what I would do. Heck yeah, you got barrels in stave form. That's awesome. But even if it is an alcohol show or a boozy show or whiskey show, yeah. I mean, I got my thoughts and strategies and stuff, but you know, that's what they are. They are just thoughts and strategies. They're not the answer always, or ever in some cases. That's just the way things work. You have to try it out to see how it goes, and then adjust from there. And then also thinking, you know, even more broadly, if So I went to a whiskey tasting one time, and I reached out, or I was talking to them because I was wondering if it was possible for me to obtain the barrels. And you know, I'm thinking about other people when doing that. So if you're interested in it, then there's a high probability somebody else is too. You just have to find those people. Anyway, anywho. $49 vendors, 40 vendors. Nice. Sounds like it's going to be a good turnout. But either way, so somebody else that has been on the stream before, they had asked if I had any advice about shows, and I said, yeah, I do. I do have advice for going to shows. Go there, and if you make money, great. But making connections is more important, especially the first go. If you're profitable from it, great. But expect not to. If you expect the worst, it's always going to be better. Was this a Marauder or a Guardian? Okay. We are cruising. Casually cruising. A Guardian. Sweet. Where are my darn mandrels? Oh. There they are, John. Found them. Yeah. Shot back. Hey, hey. There we go. Yeah, the question was for Abby. All right, we need to come back over to the wood lathe. Let's see. Alrighty. Okay, let's see where we are at here. Hey, we're pretty good. We just need to rotate, which will throw it all off. Wonderful. Okay, not too bad. Alrighty. There we go. Let's go ahead and tidy this back up. Give ourselves a clean slate here. So open your eyes and wherever you choose. Jeez, these calipers are all over the place. Battery change. Shit swap, mate. Mm-hmm. Almost there, yeah. In hindsight, I wouldn't do that again. Okay, going for 12 millimeter-ish here. Bubby Prime, what's up? You got a question? Send it. Let's hear it. What you got? Sorry, I'm married. I'm just kidding. What's your question? We have a wood bowl faceplate. What length and size screw should you use? That is a good question. That's a good question. And I wish Ben was here to answer it. Hey, Dan, what's up? A bowl faceplate and okay, let's see. Let me think for a second. What's the thickness of the stock that you're using, or the blank that you're using? Because that'll kind of contribute to, and also how are you turning? Because you could do it essentially with just one grub screw, but if you were going to drill a whole bunch of screws in, you're going to want the blank to be on the thicker side of things. Because when you mount it with a screw, you're only doing the bottom. So as long as you're not being too aggressive, I don't think that you can really go wrong. Yeah. But I've never actually screwed in, I never put screws onto the bottom of a bowl, ever. Even though I have one of those plates, I think, that you're talking about, somewhere. But I never use it. Thickness is about 3 inches. Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of other variables that I would think about too. But are you doing it just to get the footprint, or the mortise or tenon for the bowl itself? I mean, I don't think you can really go wrong as long as it's supported. Tailstock and... Is this a pull sit? No. It's this is a section for a fountain pen. But yeah, I'm not a bowl maker. So screws that I would be comfortable using might not be what you'd be comfortable using. But I don't really turn bowls with screws in the first place, so but this might give you a little bit more comfort, I would say, when I say that I used a 4-jaw chuck and used this. This is the only screw that I used in order to turn the bottom and the outside, a little bit of the shaping on the outside. This is all I used. So if I have, so imagine this is, so this is going to be the top of the bowl and this is the bottom of the bowl. All I did was drill into here, put this in, and then I cut the mortise or tenon, but I always use the tailstock support, so it's not like it's going to break off. I would say that if you use a screw that was too small, it could shear off, but you'd have to generate a lot of torque, I think, for that, which you're probably not going to. But yeah, that's about it. And I turned a massive, like a big bowl, like that. But my forte is not bowls. 760. Yeah. Well, yeah. This kind of goes back to the whole trial and error thing. Like those rubber grip plates, the triangular shaped rubber grip plate things that are shaped like, the heck are they? There we are. Oh, here's the other thing that you're talking about too. All right, I'll just grab a couple of them. But let's see. Yeah. So coal jaws is what these are called. It says the max RPM is 600, but I've gone way faster than that. I think the main thing about it is it's 600, assuming that it's not going to be supported on the tail side. But yeah, definitely not a bowl maker though. Oh, and here's probably that plate you were talking about, or something similar to it, where you put this on it and then you just drill some holes into it. I don't know if it matters how deep the screws go, just as long as they don't come out the other side and become a hazard for you when you're turning. You've been up to 800 for those. Yeah, the coal jaws I've taken up to like 2,500 actually, but it was always supported. So the only way it would have ever come off is if it broke. Like if the piece broke, right? So I don't think that you're really going to run into many problems, but like I said, I wish Ben from BW was here, because I am a pin maker. If you got a pin question, I got you. But that's my best effort on that. I don't have a lot of bowls made under my belt. I've probably made 10 total. Yeah, I'd say that you're good. I'd roll those dice. I'd protect my face though, and not be in the line of fire where it's most likely to come off. So if it's right here, I probably wouldn't be standing right here. I'd probably be more over here. So yeah, I think we're at the diameter we're going for here. yeah, man. I hope it's enough. Enough. But Dan the man. Have I seen you around before? I don't think I've seen Bubby before. But welcome to Maverick Workshop. Back quickly, won't be here for long though. Kids' bedtime? Hey, no worries, man. Want a bowl to go to the chest going? Yeah, you definitely don't. There's some pretty bad things out there, but yeah. I've launched a bowl across the room before, but I was only using a pretty small tenon for probably, actually it was a mortise. I did a mortise on it, and it caused it to fly off. But also the material I was using was, well, not great. You quit using those chucks and started using a vacuum chuck? Right on, man. I don't make enough bowls to justify that kind of investment into my tools right now, at least. This is the first live? Well, heck yeah, man. Well, welcome. I hope it's not too disappointing. Because this is pretty much what I do when I stream. I am turning on either the metal lathe or the wood lathe, or I'm talking about business stuff. But I would also say that my tolerance for potential problems is probably higher than others. Alrighty. All right, so the cap and the barrel. We're going to start with the barrel here. This is not that. This is that. At that point, I feel like it would be more secure. Plus, the tailstock is added support. Yeah. Yeah. But I have made I think it was about, it ended up being, I think, I maybe had an inch of clearance. So if it's an inch from here, 11, so a 10 to 11 inch bowl. Yeah, a worm screw. Yeah, for sure. That's what that other one was that I showed. But yeah, I don't do bowls very much, so my knowledge on them is limited, and my advice is also shouldn't necessarily be the one that you, I don't know. You can see this mandrel here has been refined, we'll say. But yeah, the mandrel is about 15 mil on its outer, and then that could be a general guide for when you're trying to get the diameter you're going for. So I want it slightly smaller. A wizard! Hey! Thanks. In progress. I'm a work in progress. Boom. Wilson. I don't know Wilson. Who's Wilson? Yeah, I haven't encountered a Wilson. I don't think. Lawrence, what's up, buddy? Okay. You like the way that's looking? I think I want to do a little touch back there. Hello. Okay. All right. Looking good, looking good. Alrighty. That is good. Oh man, waiting for paint to dry, huh? Or lacquer to dry. That's fun. Okay, that's good, that's good. We're on a home stretch at this one. Ah, shellac. Did you know that shellac is also used on M&Ms and other candies? Supposedly it's one of the few approved, FDA approved finishes that are also used in woodworking. Oh, you did? Right on. But yeah, it's from a lac bug. I watched a documentary. I think it was on. It might be called like a Business Insider or something like that. It's a YouTube channel that, or maybe it was a Why So Expensive. I don't know. It was one of those. And it's because they have to like scrape the trees in order to get the the bug stuff off of it. Let's see how this looks here. 1579, 1578. Okay. We're going for 15.5, so we're right there. Gotta add a little buffer for sanding. Or just know that you need to be very easy on the sanding for that particular spot. Also, fine-tuning, it's probably a little better to sand than it would be to turn in some cases. Okay, we're going to drop this back a little bit more. Sweet. Oh, you too? Yeah, how it's made on Discovery Channel. I knew it was one of those. Some things like that are just very fascinating to me. Okay, do a little fine tuning here before parting it off, because now's the best time to do that. Yep. Benny, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. All right, rest of that little nipple will get sanded off. All right, let's check the fit here. little snug. That's all right. We'll chase the threads. Bada bing, bada boom. We did make this from start to finish. We're gonna line up any of the positions. Oh, almost. Oh well. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Perfect. The other one that I had previously made, so I made this one before, and when it's all finished up and everything, this is what it looks like when it was finished up. This particular blank. Quite a bit different, huh? Yeah. Well, how about that? Let's see. You're doing well? Heck yeah. We are indeed. Good luck with your daughter. Hey, I appreciate it. She's got to get her adenoids taken out. And hopefully that'll help with the whole breathing thing. You like the colors? The greens, and this was a custom. Somebody commissioned these. There we go. That's nicer. We're getting there. All right, this will be perfect right now. At least it better be. I don't want to have to use my last idea until I have to start coming up with other ones. Alrighty, cool. That is nice, good fit. This, boom. Get out of here, little curly Q. Nice. Boom. There we go. Fountain pen. Basically from start to finish, if you were here for the last, let's see, 45 minutes or so. Hey, thanks. It was a lineup of a bunch of ones that they wanted custom made. What they did is they sent Abby a color palette, and then Abby went off of the color palette. Yeah. Boom. Boom. Thank you, thank you. It was a good time. Good time. I've got other commissions that I've got to do. I don't know if people are interested in that, but what I've got in the lineup here, where the heck, there you are. So these are the other ones in the lineup. So this is one that's in the lineup. I got to make a, what am I making? I'm making a Marauder out of that one. Here's another one. Nib holder out of that one. All right. And then we're going to get a pen and a nib holder out of these two. So somebody that started making blanks, I won't say who they are until they're comfortable with sharing that they're making blanks. But somebody that is making blanks wanted, like, let me switch the view right quick, because this is pretty awesome in my opinion. So somebody had given me their like first blanks that they poured, um, and they want a fountain pen as well as a nib holder made out of them. That's kind of where we got to. I'll say we didn't start there, but we were trying to figure out, or she was trying to figure out what she wanted from it, and because these are the first blanks, and some people are very, very sentimental about their blanks, and so sometimes I'll put those types of projects to the side until I'm in the right like headspace, you know. There are times that, you know, I don't know. I don't want to force things, I guess. It's not really going to yield a good, my best outcome. So I wait until I'm in a good headspace before taking on those particular projects. Or actually making those projects. But yeah, I just thought it was really neat that they hadn't made blanks before, and they wanted me to use their blank to make a pin for them, and give her feedback, as well as, you know, I always like to say that, you know what, it could be nothing at the end of the day, depending on if there's bubbles in there and stuff. So it could just end up being a broken rod or broken mess or something like that. But yeah, I just think it's pretty darn cool. But the next stop for this little guy right here is over to Abby's lathe. Whoop. Over to Abby's lathe, and then yeah, she'll sand and polish it and then send it through the ultrasonic cleaner. Yeah. If you wanted to see the other ones that were commissioned, I can show you those as well. And these are completed. One of these in particular, I think, really stand out nicely. So, oh shoot. I'm showing the wrong camera. Come on, John, get it together. Here, we'll hop back over here. These here are the other ones. This is one that I thought was like really cool. On the threads, it's got polish on them, so they'll still need to be cleaned off and everything. But they are sanded and polished already. And then this is the last one of this series. So, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Heck yeah. And if you don't know, these things are super duper handy. They are like baby rack dryers or something like that. Like baby bottle dryers and stuff. Pretty cool thing. If you have a printer, you could obviously print something too. But yeah. Boom. A couple other ones that I've got in the works right now. A couple other color sets, that is, are these. These are nearing the completion. And there's what's going to be the sections for them. There we go. Now these glow, so I think that they're going to go pretty well. And then this is pretty clear here, where it looks like it's white. It's relatively clear. Yeah. So that'll be what, well, I guess that's a couple of the other things that I've got going on in the shop here. Real slick. Hey, thanks. Yeah, I can't claim that idea as my own, although I did modify it to fit my needs and wants. So there's also a what's it called? There's another rack that you can get and put it on your wall, and it's a spool, like for sewing, like a sewing spool wall, and it's an organizer basically that they're tilted, so pretty darn cool. If you look up like um, organizers um, for sewing thread, you'll probably come up with something like that. Has this volume been on the whole time? Golly. It's awkward. But yeah. Anywho, that's about it for the stream today. Man, we cranked out some stuff. That's for sure. All right. Well, maybe not. I did like what, 5 diamond painting pins, 1 fountain pen. Okay. Well, not fantastic. Yesterday I had an idea of something that I kind of worked on, and I see some problems with it already, but I think I'm on the right track. So basically, this is the piece I was working on here, and when you're unscrewing something, you lefty-loosey, right? I mean, lefty-loosey, correct? Question mark. Well, this one's the opposite. This one goes the other direction. And more to come with this type of thing, if that is something that you're interested in. But yeah, this is something that I've tried out, and I'm pretty content how it's going, actually. I do anticipate people having issues with it. Right off the bat, I suppose, but oh well. It might just be one of those ideas that won't go very far or won't go anywhere, or either way. But you know what? I'm grateful that I can come out here and see if it's something that I wanted to do. Yeah, man. Me too. Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap this baby up, because it's Friday, right? Friday, pie day. I like pizza, so I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you had a good time, learned something. On your way out, if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up. And if not, that's all right. Just say, hey, bye, see you next time. That's okay too. Either way. Thanks for being here, and I will see y'all next time. Take care.